all the silly little animals sleeping by the side of the road, or how I learned to bemusedly deal with these strange and lovely dystopian times without you, A.K.A. the tragedy of my rival self-published novelist. Copyright 2025, December 5th Productions. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced by any means, including photocopying, recording, artificial intelligence software, information storage and retrieval systems, or telepathic or supernatural forms of communication, except for brief quotations and reviews, properly written and cited in accordance with the MLA-style manual and with written permission from the author. The author's written permission must be requested, accompanied by the correct three-letter code combination. An excerpt of this novel was previously published in the New Croton Review, 2022, Fall Edition, as Violent Behaviors. A digital version of this novel can be accessed online with the proper three-letter code combination. This book is a work of fiction. Any references to real events, people, or places are used fictitiously. Other names, characters, places, and incidents are the product of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual events, locales, or persons, living or dead, is entirely coincidental. Illustration by Gerald Fraccaretta. Our generation is going to have the most frightening dystopian stories the world will ever see. WHF. Chapter 1. A brief introduction of the goings-on in my life at the time. During my usual bouts of insomnia, I passed my little sister's room and saw her asleep in bed clutching her pan flute. Our dog Harold's blonde neck scruff snugly molded against the covers covering the back of her knees. The light from the garage storm lamps leaked through the edges of the off-centered curtains. Her headphones produced light, repetitive chiming noises. The cat, Wooly, remained on his side on the plushy rug, his clipped claws stretched out parallel to each other, in such a way that pronounced his mane-like tufts of fur. Our other dog, Francis, tended to lie on the floor, with one front paw vertical, climbing invisible stairs, all on its own, in irregular intervals. Sometimes I peered in for a second, and Harold would curl his sleepy nose around in a staggered motion and eye me protectively. Early in the morning, Anastasia woke up to practice her pan flute arrangement. It was a rhapsodic melody full of abrupt noises and disconnected phrases. Our parents found this pan flute arrangement to be a crucial aspect of the annual Deptford Elementary School holiday performance, which our parents always spend substantial time preparing for, decorations-wise. Over the months leading up to the performance, they constructed a labyrinth of streamers along the gymnasium ceiling. Our father painted a mural. He handcrafted statues to be set on each side of the stage, all of which our parents created throughout the empty hours of the morning. Each year, it was a major production. It was borderline obsessive. Our mother stated that this year the performance would be different, much different. She always said this. Leading up to the big day, she continually told us our whole family's attendance was mandatory, especially Anastasia's. She always said this as well. All of you, especially Anastasia, need to be there. You need to stand left of the stage the instant Anastasia starts to perform. The spot is right near the banister by the stage's stairs. You all need to watch the kindergartners perform from that specific spot. This part was new. She said it in a tone which concerned me over how our family and the audience might experience this year's performance. With that said, the generations of women from our mother's bloodline passed down pan fluting as a practice, and the melody of the pan flute arrangement stemmed directly from a tribal hymn performed by our father's tribe at seasonal sacrifices and celebratory occasions. So the annual Deptford Elementary School holiday performance became an opportunity to mutually preserve the different traditional practices of our conjoined family's heritage. That fall, my younger sister Anastasia was about to turn 13 years old, and I stayed home from college for the semester after I had a mishap while I studied abroad in Stockholm. I was expected to rebuild myself for the succeeding academic semester. Luckily, My hometown of Deptford was a pleasant bubble of a town where you could lay low and, if you played it right, go completely unnoticed. Deptford was a spacious area, with windy roads which weaved you through dense forests, preserved valleys, extensive reservoirs, hiking trails, and a neat little town center with one sidewalk. In the town center, there were charming red brick buildings with green awnings. There were a few family-owned department stores. There was a pet grooming salon. There was a restaurant where I used to bartend. There was a road you could cross without the need to look first. Across from the restaurant was another red brick building with a Pilates studio on the third floor. My mother held a part-time receptionist position at this Pilates studio, and on the occasion she watched me as I worked at the restaurant from the window by her desk. For the most part, Deptford used to be a nice, safe place to live. Celebrities moved here so as to live a close to normal lifestyle outside of their hectic fame. One day, I drove past a celebrity's house as she was about to pull out of her driveway in her silver SUV. She was a world-renowned actress. I waved at her, casually. She noticed me. It felt as though she made a cameo in my life. It felt as though the two of us suddenly became close acquaintances. The next day, I saw her jog on the side of the road. I followed her for 4 miles. I made a U-turn to keep up with her route. She turned around at a dead end. I continued to follow her from a considerable distance. I made another U-turn. I made a few U-turns, actually. She jogged with impeccable form. She took a trail through the woods. The trailhead opened on another back road. I knew where to position myself. I sped over. She arrived at the trailhead right on time. I finally hopped out of my car and approached her. It turned out that it was not the celebrity. It wasn't even close. Months later, the celebrity was arrested for local political bribery. Around here, properties had ponds, garages, pools, pool houses, cabanas, and renovated guest houses. Some families had exotic pets, which enticed many predatory animals. Out in our backyard, we had a pond. A pair of ducks would mellowly meander along the extent of the pond until our dog Harold ballistically barked at them in his adorable puppyish way. Behind this pond, we had a wooded area, blocked off limits for our dogs by a crumbling stone wall. We had a shed by our pond as well. The shed used to be a chicken coop handled by generously paid foreign laborers until all the chickens were gradually rampaged by the local wildlife. Our house was also directly off the main road, which made home invasions convenient for potential intruders. In fact, a week before I returned from Stockholm, someone broke into my mother's car in the middle of the night and rummaged through her wallet, purse, and glove compartment. Her parking passes, jackets, makeup, coffee thermoses, school supplies, and Pilates gear were all left intact, yet appeared to be intentionally strewn around on the seats and floor of my mother's car. Actual, real blood was slathered along the car's window frames. They shattered the car windows, even though the car was already unlocked. Only Anastasia and my parents were at home. My younger brothers, Gisaldo and Adalberto, recently left to attend college. Everyone at the house, including our dogs, slept through the whole ordeal. So yes, this was quite a crime indeed. Of course, our family never reported anything to authorities. If there was ever indeed a situation, we dealt with it ourselves. After all, this was a sign of the times. For some time, there was this evolving mistrust surrounding our social order. A significant population decided to disassociate from the standard ways of living. Packs of people fled corporate buildings. Taxi drivers left their cabs in the city streets. Fast food windows were abandoned. Driverless 18-wheelers lined the breakdown lanes on the highways. Undocked oil barges drifted off into the ocean. After they quit their jobs, they destroyed their IDs, birth certificate, social security card, and any legal document which displayed their name. They became modern nomads. They no longer responded to any names. Many flocked to suburban towns such as Deptford, where it was an easier version of the wilderness, and there was a pleasant small town environment to fall back on in case the whole nomadic lifestyle didn't pan out the way they planned. Supposedly, these people intended to hunt overpopulated wildlife and farm unused land for food. Many starved to death. You could see their rib cages through their worn-out shirts. Most of the meat they ate was from roadkill. These groups were founded on peaceful ideals. A few celebrities went along with their cause. These people believed money and any structural power led to violence within our society, and so they broke away from the routine social structure. This was a noble cause, though as they began to starve, many stole food from local households. Yet they lacked experience. These people missed valuable items. They forgot their own belongings behind and made second trips. Some homeowners fought back. Occasionally, a member of a nomadic group would be killed, defensively. No one knew what to do with the bodies. The family could not be located. These nomadic people referred to themselves as the Nameless. At the same time, the condition of the stock market was surprisingly impeccable. Record highs were hit left and right. Right as a downturn was expected, the economic data sent the market through the roof and the roof above that one. Investors saw double and even triple returns overnight. The only concern was that the data wasn't entirely plausible. Rumors surfaced of fraud. Analysts speculated that the data was not accurate and that the rapid rise of the major stock market indices was due to market manipulation. How could the market skyrocket again and again when a quarter of the population ripped up their social security card and scavenged around their local neighborhood and broke into surrounding homes? This happened to be an election year, so everyone was on edge. Who could enter the office and swing everything around? This was thought as a new time period altogether, that no one knew how to refer to our current time period. Personally, I had a few ideas as to how to name our generation, though I kept them to myself. Surely, if I stepped forward, envious scholars would claw my throat out. I understood it was especially dangerous to be the voice of a generation. Fortunately, I knew how to stay out of the spotlight for the sake of my livelihood. Before I studied abroad in Stockholm, I attended one of the country's most prestigious colleges. I was very talented academically, since, while I was an infant, my mother read to me a great deal, and the manner she read to me was advanced. She didn't simply read picture books and point up and babble to me in a baby voice. She read the dictionary and textbooks to me all night while I slept. My mother tried to teach me the pan flute as well, though I lacked the musical talent to properly progress. Our mother read to my younger siblings as well. Clearly, my little brother Gisaldo retained the most. Gisaldo had encyclopedic memory. When he was 5 years old, he could read the advanced material my mother read to him as an infant, and he felt deep emotional connections as he heard the words on the pages years before. Adalberto preceded Gisaldo, and he was even more remarkable. Our mother read to him before he was even born. He advanced to preschool when he was 2 years old. As a toddler, he wrote out advanced mathematical theorems on the chalkboard in our living room. Surely he would do something remarkable, though unfortunately, Adalberto had a head injury after his preschool music teacher dropped a xylophone over his head. Our mother reread all the material she read to him beforehand. She read to him more frequently than she read to Gisaldo and I. Still, the material wouldn't stick. Adalberto no longer picked up on advanced academic concepts. Luckily, Adalberto remained enthusiastic. He enjoyed the time my mother dedicated to him, even though he didn't understand anything she read to him. In fact, he enjoyed all the time any of us spent with him. All the family members found his presence refreshing. Adalberto appreciated life without any concern about advancing into an academic prodigy. Eventually, our mother eased up on Adalberto. As the situation put most of the family at ease, Gisaldo felt pressure to perform and to look after our family even more. This was right around the time my little sister Anastasia was born. As for Anastasia, our mother only coached her on one thing. As her own mother did to her, our mother drilled the pan flute practice into Anastasia. My mother attempted to teach Anastasia the pan flute arrangement of our father's tribal hymn all throughout her pregnancy. She played the audio recording all day. She tried to talk about the pan flute and their performance directly to Anastasia, even though she wasn't born yet. A few weeks before the annual Deptford Elementary School holiday performance that year, Anastasia was born. Our mother spent hours teaching her the proper embouchure to use for the pan flute. She instructed each note. My mother told our grandmother that Anastasia would perform the pan flute arrangement at the annual Deptford Elementary School holiday performance at a high caliber for an infant. Unfortunately, Anastasia struggled. She slobbered all over the pan flute. Anastasia blew random notes and fumbled with the pan flute and even dropped it a few times. My grandmother was devastated, and my mother was humiliated. In her defense, Anastasia was quite young. Generally speaking, I didn't have immediate memory of any of the material my mother read to me during my infancy. However, I could somehow regurgitate the content on the fly, and I instinctively picked up new academic concepts and tasks with ease. All throughout school, I achieved high standings. All my classes were pathetically easy for me. With that said, socially speaking, I was withdrawn. Even though my mother thoroughly educated me while I slept as an infant, I wasn't perfect. Throughout my childhood, I mostly socialized with my family members. Due to my appearance, I felt insecure, and I was also picked on by my classmates. Up until my senior year of high school, I kept to myself. I would much rather spend my time outside of class, hunkered down in my room, leafing through a novel. As it went, I began drawn to writing novels myself. I spent most of my time in class scrawling out novels. I went on to self-publish these novels under an alias so as to keep away from potential bombarding fame. Aside from that, I didn't have much to show for myself. While I completed my college applications, I had no idea what to write about for my college essay. Here I was, a phenomenal, up-and-coming self-published novelist, yet I didn't know what to write about when it came to myself as a subject. I always felt that I didn't have much substance as a character. I never saw myself as a protagonist. Luckily, my academic advisor sat me down in her office and noted that I was a descendant of an extinct island tribe. This caught me off guard. I rarely gave this a thought, yet it was true. My father was the last member of this island tribe, and my father's heritage played a significant role in my life. For one thing, as the firstborn, my father named me after an ancestor who had a long name. I struggled to pronounce and spell my name. Most of the letters in my name were consonants set back to back. Technically speaking, my last name didn't have a formal English spelling. The letters from my father's tribal alphabet did not line up with the English alphabet. I also had an eccentric appearance which differed from the norm. People weren't sure of my gender because I looked so androgynous. Still, I barely knew anything about my father's childhood, since my father didn't talk much. In response to anything anyone said to my father, he nodded his head. At the age of 17, my father immigrated to this country after his entire tribe was eliminated by another nation. As I sat down in my academic advisor's office and explained all this, I began to cry. I suppressed the presence of my father's tribal heritage, even though it was such a prevalent detail in my life. Up until this point in my life, I didn't dedicate any time to learn about my father's tribal heritage, and the whole time my father remained silent. He never coerced us into joining the spiritual practices. My academic advisor suggested I capture the emotion of this revelation in my college essay. That night, I joined my father during his hour of worship. I didn't know how to practice my father's spiritual practices, though I tried my best. I walked into my father's room of worship and did what he did. I bowed down. I held the position as long as my father did. After the hour concluded, my father noted my presence and smiled and nodded. As spring approached, my father cast papier-mâché lanterns into the air in the backyard each night, as he did each year. Usually we watched him, as a family, uncertain as to why he did this. This time, we all joined him as a family. That spring, I received many acceptance letters from colleges, and each of them, the admissions representatives remarked on the emotional maturity I exhibited in my essay. In the end, I decided to attend the college my girlfriend chose to attend. The relationship was new. I only knew her for a few weeks. It was the first romantic relationship I ever had. So I figured that we might as well stick together and orient our education decisions around our newly formed relationship. At college, I received multiple accolades for my in-class participation and my insightful papers. I was accepted more in social circles. I dabbled in some partying. Still, I never declared a major. By the time I finished my first year, I made so much money as a self-published novelist that college simply became a way to pass the time. During the second semester of my first year of college, one of my novels gained significant popularity. Many people praised it. Others noted it as scandalous due to the range of controversial subject matter. Critics suggested that the novel should be banned and urged authorities to charge me with capital crimes, though no one knew who to approach as my alias kept me completely anonymous. This particular novel put this field of self-publishing novels on the map. I showcased the possibility of publishing anything you wanted without any legal ramifications. There was no censorship. It was the most literary freedom you could acquire. It served the grounds for true, raw art. The self-published novelist scene became an absolute free-for-all. Here I had been in the game since my young and more vulnerable high school days, though overnight the landscape of self-published novelists had broadened. Whereas self-published novelists were once looked down upon as failures, it rapidly became one of the most elite professions, as you can make an absolute killing. As self-publishing novels became more popular, there began a common tendency for self-published novelists to enact violence. Self-published novelists would threaten local bookshop owners to put their novels on their shelves. The bookshop owners could make a steady commission, though the self-published novelists lashed out if any of their copies went missing from the shelves, even if the novel was too scandalous for the public's eyes. Most bookshop owners either went into hiding or went missing throughout this time. Many self-published novelists enacted violence on other self-published novelists as well. A fair share killed other self-published novelists. Some had their writing hand cut off. Death threats were written on the pages in the self-published novels and directed to other self-published novelists. Cryptic messages were spelled out in chapter titles. These death threats weren't only threats. These death threats were prophecies. No matter how gruesome the death threat was, all of them were successfully enacted by the self-published novelists. These self-published novels would sell out immediately. Bookshop owners didn't have enough time to even set these novels on the shelves. Readers wanted to know if their beloved self-published novelist was close to death. Every self-published novelist had a vendetta towards another self-published novelist, even if they claimed they didn't. When the self-published novelist finally self-published their body of work, they put the same energy into physically eliminating their competitor. You had to have a death wish as a self-published novelist. I remained in hiding since the publication of my last novel. So many other self-published novelists were after me. Even though I never killed any fellow self-published novelist, my alias was constantly thought of as a suspect. I tried everything to limit my exposure to the other self-published novelists. I began to self-publish my novels under new aliases, though, due to my prestige, it didn't matter if I self-published under a new alias or not. My rivals knew it was my writing when they read my work. It was easily identifiable. None of my competitors could try to replicate a similar style. This provoked jealousy. Novels were, of course, supposed to entertain, satisfy, and provide a transcendent perspective to the reader, and these novels were also meant to demolish competitors at a literary level. And I constantly destroyed the other fellow self-published novelists' careers at a literary level from my works of fiction. What more shall I say? After all, this was the heyday of self-published novels. Many of my self-published novels were burned on the day of their release, though the competitors understood that they couldn't burn the unlimited digital copies. My digitalized self-published novels would remain in stock forever, even after my death.